And welcome back. A big thank you to Jeff for taking us through the dailies this morning. It is time to rise and shine. My name is Shiko Kaitani. Remember, we are definitely looking out for your feedback every morning through our social media platforms. You can catch us at K24TV on Instagram, Facebook, as well as Twitter. That being said, of course, you know, it's all about life lessons till 7 a.m. And today we're going to take a fresh approach as to how you look at life. And that's by thinking about what you're thinking about. Now, by actually, thinking about the types of thoughts you have and making a conscious decision to do something about those thoughts, you can actually change the outcome of your life. And so it all begins by you memorizing or remembering the winning formula that we have called E plus R equals O. If you're not too sure what I'm talking about, well, let my guest explain. Alex Mwathi, motivational speaker and author of the Bailout Plan that we've got right here on set, is here with us on Rise and Shine to talk a little bit more about how to adopt the winning formula. Alex.
Yes, please.
Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
Welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
You're welcome. And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
It just hit me, yes. I've not seen you since last year.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so last time you were here on set, we were talking about your book, The Bailout Plan.
Yes.
And you created something very interesting that really stuck with me. And that's what we are calling today the winning formula.
Good.
And you said something that E plus R equals O.
Yes.
Now, for whoever's watching, they must be like, huh? What are you talking about? What is E plus R equals O?
I believe is the most powerful formula that
Yes.
has been created. And E plus R stands for events of life.
Yes.
Those things that happen in your life, the circumstances you go through, the change that you go.
Yes.
R stands for your response, and O stands for your outcome. So it postulates that when you have some events, you'll have a response.
Right.
When you respond, you'll have an outcome. It means that those are the variables that are there. Events and responses to give you the outcome that you want.
Right.
Events will happen in your life, irrespective of you, despite of you, if whatever.
Yeah.
They will happen. Your response, combination of that gives you the outcome. So for those that understand maths a bit,
Yes.
it means that the only variable that I have control over, and I have 100% control over it,
Yes.
is my response.
Okay.
So events will happen, I will respond to them, and then that will determine my outcome.
Right.
And in most instances, if we desire that we want our life to change, our life to move forward,
Right.
it's very important that every moment in our lives, we are conscious of the responses that we give. On 20th November 2013, Shiko, I walked into Professor Hassan's office,
Yeah.
and they had done some tests, and he told me, you have cancer of the stomach.
Oh, wow.
At that point, you have many responses that you can have.
Right.
One of them is cry, other one is shout, other one is say,
Committing suicide.
Jesus, I'm finished.
Yeah, anything.
My response to him, because I've learned this formula over the last couple of years, is to know that I want my happiness now. That most probably maybe I may die. I may die. I will die anyway, so why don't I enjoy the time that is remaining? So my
Wow.
question to him is, if we wait until January for the operation, will I die? He laughed and he said, I don't know, it's only God that knows. But is there chances that I'll be alive by January? He said yes. Why was I asking? Because I wanted a good time for my family in December. And I didn't inform them until January.
Wow.
Because I didn't want to dampen their Christmas. Oh my God, imagine going to heaven when you have had a beautiful Christmas with your family.
Alex.
So now,
Yeah.
January comes and you go back. He goes test. He says, Jesus, what happened? The thing is gone.
Wow.
My response was, I want happiness, I want joy as long as I can be able to live. What happens? I have joy. So when he did the operations in January, boom, fully cured by February.
Wow.
So hence, if I gave you 10,000 shillings this morning, I just want to explain another event.
Yeah.
You go and party over the weekend because it's possible to finish 10,000 in one night.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
Okay? You go and party.
Yeah.
By beginning of February, you'll be broke. I give you 10,000. You go invest in stock exchange. And you invest a stock that gains 10% in the next 2 weeks.
Right.
You'll be worth 1,100. Same event, two responses give you different outcome.
Wow, that is...
So in life,
yeah.
every circumstance that happens to me,
Yes.
I have the power to respond to it. In fact, there is something that I say that you take 100% responsibility for life.
Right.
It means because you can able to take 100% responsibility for your life because you are responsible.
Right.
You are able to respond. That is where the word responsibility comes from.
And you know, from what I'm gathering, in a nutshell, R is the most important part of this equation.
Yeah, it's not the most. I would say it's not the most important part of the equation. Is the one that you have control over. We have very little control over the events that happens in our life, but we have a lot of control over the response that we give.
Right.
Yes.
Now, is how you respond to life really your attitude, in short? Because the way you can choose, for example, in your case, when you were, diagnosed with cancer and you had that kind of information, would you say that your outlook towards life generally, you are a very positive person? Does that give you an indication of the kind of individual
yes.
You're dealing with?
The thing I would like to tell the listeners is this, that in this life you have two options. You have an option to be happy. You have an option to desire to be happy. You have an option to work towards being happy.
Right.
And if you want to do that, you've got to study. Because you've got to study people who have been happy and find out what was their attitude. That's what you're saying.
Right.
So that everything that happens in your life, you don't see it as the end of the world. You see it as the beginning of the next life. That if you are sacked from your job today,
right,
what do you do tomorrow? Is it sit at home and brood and complain and blame everybody else? Or you start asking yourself, could it be possible that God is closing this door so that he can open a bigger door?
Wow, totally different perspectives. Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah.
So if you position yourself in life where you always look for the positive, the best in everything, the best in everyone, what happens then, your responses become responses that drives you to have that happiness. That's why when I give my example, it's my response immediately. My thinking is immediately that I need to be a happy person. My family need to enjoy Christmas.
Yeah.
If it is the last one that we actually enjoy together, let it be the best Christmas that we can ever have.
Oh, wow. And you know,
so that when I go there, I have something to remember. You will start brooding and what can I do? Nothing.
There's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do about the event.
Yes.
You know, the thing is, this may also sound like we are trying to, downplay or, just ignore the fact that people can have a bad day. Because, it could be, taken in a different way. That, Alex, what you're simply saying is that I'm not allowed to have a bad day. I'm not allowed to be angry. I'm not allowed to, to at least...
To choose your response, Shiko, does not mean that you downplay the circumstances that happen.
Okay.
You sit in front, if you use that example, you sit in front of a doctor and says that you have cancer. That's not a small thing. And in your mind, you must say, oh my God, there are two options. God will heal me when I ask him to, or God will take me home. And that's why in the Bible, Paul says that for me to die is gain. But, sorry, for me to live is Christ, but to die is gain because I'll be the Lord.
Yes.
You understand that?
Right.
So it's not downplaying it. It's reality. It's facing reality with an attitude of, yes, something can be done. Let me make this statement, that the world is not ending tomorrow.
Right.
And that's the running thing. And the question that you will ask myself is, what's the worst that can happen in this circumstance? You've had an accident. What's the worst that can happen? This has happened. Somebody has died in the family. What's the worst that can happen? And in general, if you ask that question, you realize that you still have a life to live. And if you don't have a life to live, please be prepared to go to heaven.
And, this sort of gives me an idea as to how we should actually handle negative emotions. You've got to stop, think, reboot before you act.
Thank you. In fact, I like saying that there's a connection between your mind and your mouth.
Right.
And most of the times we pull off the plug.
Yes.
When my mouth runs without our brains.
Right.
I like to encourage our listeners that it's very important to ensure that your plug is, your whatever switch,
Yeah.
your cable is attached to your
And
mouse.
it's not so easy to do,
It
by
is
the way.
not easy.
Yeah, because things will always trigger you to act in a certain way.
Good things in life are not easy.
Okay.
It takes a long time to train your mind to think positively. It takes a long time. I keep telling people who are not Christians also, because I speak to them, and I tell them, take the book, the Bible, and read it. It's a book of philosophies, of ideas
Yeah.
that makes you live a better life.
It's true. Don't just look at it like it's a
You know,
manual about
it's a
heaven and hell.
heaven
It's
and
not
hell.
about-
In fact, for information, the New Testament mentions, I think, hell about 3 or 4 times
Right.
only.
Only, yes.
He mentions about heaven about 60 times.
Right.
The rest of the book is about how to live your life with yourself and be happy with yourself. And then it says, love yourself, love your neighbors, love yourself. How can you love your neighbor if you don't love yourself?
Right.
So if you love yourself, then you'll train yourself to live a good life. You train yourself to live well.
Yeah.
Do you get negative emotions? 100%.
Right.
Do you get very concerned? Do you get worried?
Yeah.
100%.
Right.
But then what happens is that when you train your mind to be able to look at the things that are positive in your life,
Right.
E plus R equals O, then even when the negative emotions comes, you are quicker to turn back. So that your next decisions are not based on that emotion,
Right.
but they are based on a response that you determine.
Right. And you know, maybe to some extent, someone may actually think that this only applies to the major things that happen in your life. But what you're saying is that you can apply this even to the smallest things that you do every single day.
Every item.
And why don't you give us some practical examples as to how this formula has had you, you know, gain more peace, live a happier life in the small things.
Yes.
It's all in the small
Yes.
stuff.
A couple of things.
Yeah.
You drive in Nairobi.
Right.
You'll
Number one
always-
reason to be upset. Yeah.
You always have some matatu man
Yeah.
cutting in front of you.
Right.
You have always have these guys who think that they own the road, so they'll come and cut in front of you.
Right.
I have trained myself that when you come in front of me, I first of all think that you're just like a garbage truck. You're handling some garbage,
Yes.
and you want to dump it on me.
Yes.
So what I do, I stop and I smile at you and wave at you and let you pass. Guess what happens, Shiko? 99% of the time, especially with matatus,
Yes.
and I'm talking about making circles and forwards. As soon as you do that,
Yes.
they stop and give you way.
Wow.
But if it doesn't, then you say, you just go ahead and have your accident in front
But
of
it's not going to mess up your day.
you. Not at all.
Yes.
A couple of months ago, I wanted to renew my passport.
Yes.
And you know, I fill up the forms, paid online and all that, got my forms and carried them to Nyayo House. The queue at 6:30 goes around that building.
Oh, wow.
And I'm asking myself, I'll queue all this way around? Should I call Kiaranga? Should I call somebody?
Yes.
Friends who can connect me? I say no. That might be what we fight about, corruption and all that.
Yeah.
So I decided I'm going to use this formula for myself. What should my response?
Yeah.
Is to say that if I could get a senior person now, who I don't know, and ask him whether he can assist me, whether I can
Yeah.
go. So I have somebody who is a boss here.
Yeah.
I was told him, Mr. Munyao, where does this sit? Second floor. I walk to his office.
Yes.
And the secretary is wondering why you are coming here. We
Yeah.
don't handle those matters here. He
Yeah.
said, please, let me see Mr. Munyao, and then he can determine.
Right.
I walk to Mr. Munyao's office, and he laughs at me.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? I've
Yes.
never done that for the last 20 years. I said, no, I thought you the office guy can help me.
Yes.
So he couldn't understand me. So he picked up the papers, goes to his officers,
Yeah.
in 3 days I have my passport.
Wow. And just like that.
Just like that.
But.
E plus
Yeah.
R equals O.
Right.
The event is that it's so difficult to get to this office where you get your form, deliver your forms. My response is there a way that I can get this done
Yes.
without
Yes.
going through the Kenyan route?
Yes. And you see, majority of the people would have been doing the opposite, which is complaining, shouting, fighting.
The
along-
reason
Yes.
that there is a queue, and that's why I desire to jump in,
Yeah.
is for that reason. Because at the entrance, everybody is fighting to get in.
Yes.
The people complicate it themselves.
Yes.
Because everybody thinks that I must get my passport today.
Right.
You don't have to get it today. If that guy would have said no, I was going to go home.
Right.
And maybe the following day come at 4 a.m. in the morning.
Yes.
That's my response. He agreed, so it's okay.
So the next day you'd have tried, but come earlier.
Exactly.
And you'd have been in front of the queue. You know, this actually.
The other one
Yes.
is 1995.
Yeah.
Walk into my office and I find a white envelope.
Okay.
You know what those envelopes are?
Yeah, what envelopes?
A white envelope saying
Yes.
that your contract is terminated because the company has been bought by a receiver. what's my reaction? Take my wife for dinner that evening.
Oh.
To go and tell her when you're around a beautiful
Nice
meal.
way to play it, yes. This sets off a chain reaction
In your life.
in your life.
Yes.
And that's why you need to master the art
Yes.
of learning how to think before you respond.
Exactly.
So for those who are watching and saying, you know what, I just don't understand why I'm attracting negativity, this drama in my life, I'm kind of upset and grumpy every single day, you're saying it's a matter of choice.
It's a choice, yes. It's a matter of choice, but remember, for you to make the right choice, you've got to be prepared. I say that it's better to be prepared and not have an opportunity than to have an opportunity and not be prepared.
Absolutely.
What does that mean? You must train your mind. I keep telling people
Right.
that reading helps.
Right.
Reading is everything in life. If you're not reading one book a month, you're not reading at all. And you must read a wide range. You've heard me speak on any subject
Right.
because I read like crazy.
Right.
If you don't read, then your mind doesn't get trained. Because your mind is like a computer.
Yeah.
Garbage in, garbage
Garbage
out.
out, yeah.
If you don't put positivity in it, there are many people, Jack Canfield, Les Brown, blah, blah, blah. There's so many people who've written books about these issues.
Yes.
Read positive people that tell you about develop your personality, develop yourself,
Yeah.
have a positive attitude, deal with your emotions.
Yeah.
Read about them so that you feed your mind
Yeah.
with stuff that are positive. So that when a situation happens to you, then you're able to draw the
Yeah.
positive items.
And that's so, the irony about it is that we have so much content available to us, but you still have such high levels of anxiety, stress in the world
my
today,
God.
which is very strange. And you have thousands of authors who keep writing about 7 ways to simplify your life, 10 ways to do this, 6 ways to do that. And we still don't know.
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
I'll tell you one of the
Yeah.
most interesting things is that
Yeah.
people buy this book sometimes because they know me.
Yeah.
And I ask them late, 2 months after, oh, you read the book? He says, yes, I did.
Yeah.
And ask a question. They have never opened the book. I've been tempted now to be putting 1,000 shillings inside the
To
book
just-
and sell it to you.
And then we'll see if you can find the 1,000.
Yes, you can find the 1,000.
But okay, as we're winding up very, very quickly, you know, this is probably linked to The Secret. You've obviously heard about The Secret, about
Yes,
the
yes,
law
yes.
of attraction.
Yes,
You
yes.
really do attract what comes into your life. That being said then, how do we just start the process of our way to a better life, a simpler life, more peaceful, so to speak? You've talked about reading. That's one. Any other tips that you want to give us as we wind up?
Train your mind.
Yeah.
There's no two ways to it. I know that a lot of people think that the law of attraction is
Yes.
sitting here and attracting stuff.
Yes.
It's not that.
Yeah.
If you listen to read the book and watch the movie properly,
Yeah.
it's that. I would sit here and say, my desire this year would be, for argument's sake, to go to Eiffel Tower. And then I want to go to Niagara Falls this year. I must start doing something about it. Not necessarily direct to it, but as move in my life and keep in my mind, God will bring people in my life that will send me towards it.
Wow.
So the very key thing is to train our minds. Our minds must be trained to be positive. If you hear something, what comes to your mind immediately? Is it a negative emotion or a positive emotion? If it's a negative emotion, you must start saying, hey, my God, I need to work on that.
Right.
And that takes time,
Yes.
but it causes a starting where you start training your mind to be able to absorb the right stuff. If you're going to watch the news every day,
Yes.
you'll be depressed. Please cut off the news that you watch. And I know you're in business of
Right.
giving news.
That's true.
Reduce the amount of news that you make because news is about a dog, a man biting a dog, not a dog biting a man. So reduce it. Ensure that when you wake up in the morning at 5 o'clock,
Right.
please read. Nobody wakes up after 5 o'clock
Yeah.
and makes it in life. Unless you're a drug dealer.
FYI. So, okay.
So
Yeah.
read something positive.
Okay.
Take 10, 15 minutes,
Right.
read something positive,
Yes.
and then meditate upon it.
Absolutely.
So by 5:30 when you go to the shower room,
Yes.
you already have your mind already engaged in a
Right.
positive way.
Absolutely. Okay. And speaking about the winning formula, we want to wrap up today's session by just sharing a story with you. And this one is an article that we actually came across on simplemindfulness.com. that, you know, one author, Viktor Franklin, who actually happened to be in a concentration camp during the Nazi Germany regime during World War II, said that everything can be taken from a man or a woman but one thing, and that is his freedom to choose his attitude in any given set of circumstances. Interestingly, yeah. Now, Victor, who was a man to have believed to be in a concentration camp of Nazi Germany during World War II, he said that this is actually what saved his life. His family was murdered, he was stripped of everything he had, and physically abused and tortured. Now, the big question is, would you be able to maintain a positive attitude in those circumstances? Not so many of us could. But the truth is, this is actually what got him out. Now, think of the last situation in your life that didn't go as you have liked. Before you jump to blaming others or, you know, people or aspects of the situation as to why it didn't go in a particular way, rewind the whole event. Think about your attitude at the beginning, before, and of course, how it even began. You can see what you think is actually what you will see. Now, you tend to get out of life what you expect, the author says, and it goes on to say the same environment exists around you regardless of how you choose to see it. And finally, this is what he goes on to say, that you make ongoing choices about how you interpret your environment. Your interpretations are based on your attitude.
Fantastic.
What a powerful story.
It's a powerful story.
Right.
You must read the history. I've read the story.
Yes.
It's mind-boggling.
All right.
It's mind-boggling.
Thank you so much, Alex.
You're most
I
welcome.
really appreciate you coming to speak to us about the winning formula.
Thank you. Thank you.
And
Thank
we
you.
hope it works for you too. Always remember that formula, E plus R equals O. Keep it Alpha Jury, because Interactive is up next.